So I'm Jamie. I'm a freelance DJ under the name Jarmed. I run a brand called Flat Earth Disco. We do online radio shows. We're a DJ collective, and yeah, we do some clothing as well. I've always been interested in music. I guess it's the instrument you go for if you're into dance music. You're putting things together in a unique way each time you do it. So some sort of creative outlet for all that music that you've been listening to and storing up over however long. So I grew up in Southwest London. I'd say I've got like some musical inspiration from both my parents. My dad was more into sort of indie rock kind of stuff and that. And my mum loves like disco and garage and stuff like that. So there's a few tracks that I remember, like, I don't know, like Artful Dodger or something, we'd always be playing in the car. A lot of the tracks that are coming out nowadays kind of throw back to that kind of 90s era. Got into DJing at uni, mate brought up a set of decks in second year, just really got into it then. Around the same time, was kind of learning a bit more about social media. You basically got tips from people to put out content on Instagram. When I was at uni, I was struggling to think what the hell I was going to do after I graduated. I did languages at uni. I went to all the careers fairs and they were just basically being like, you got to be a teacher or you got to be a translator, and I just didn't want to do either of those things. So even after uni, I just worked in a pub for a bit. Yeah, ended up getting a job in like club events, running their social media, like managing their events on site, which is really, really fun. But yeah, I kind of got it I played DJ for them a couple of times, and then yeah, just got chatting to the organisers. I was just waiting to find that thing that I was like, oh yeah, I actually am interested in this. And events was definitely kind of the first one I was like, yeah, I really want to give that a go. Especially when I was doing the club events, everything was kind of all intertwined at once. I was running their social media, but I could always also then kind of do my own at the same time. Planning their events, I put myself somewhere in the lineup, like warm up or closing or something like that. So it was all working like really well together. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a few different ways. The way I got told by quite a few people was just like build a social media presence, basically like post all the time, just to have that actual presence on there. So when someone's right, yeah, I've heard you're a DJ, like the first place they go to check is Instagram or SoundCloud. So you've got to be on there so people can just sort of check it. Just gives you some sort of like backing when people are actually looking into it. And alongside that is so like presenting yourself as a professional, because you can send someone a message and be like, oh, I've never DJed before, I really want to play. And that might work, but then also they know it's a bigger risk. Whereas if you kind of go with it with being like, these are all the things that I've done, these are the people that I've worked with, here's like a load of examples of my content. Yeah, I guess it shows more confidence. Messaging people on Instagram, emailing people. I say the biggest one is literally just going to other people's gigs. Especially like smaller gigs where either people just starting out or ones where you just got more of a chance of actually talking to the organisers, talking to the DJs, hanging out with them, chatting, not begging for a set, and things kind of come up organically through that. If you're just around like a lot of creative people, if you're in the space that you want to be in, I think it's just the biggest thing. I definitely noticed that if I go through a period of like not going out as much, I definitely just get fewer gigs. For ages, I really wanted to just throw my own event because I feel like you've obviously got full control over, what you can do, what music's played, who's playing. Try to think of a name for it. Came up with loads of them, and I was just occasionally like saying them to my mates in the pub, and I said Flat Earth Disco, and then a couple of people laughed, and I was like, right, that's it, that's the one. It's stupid, yeah. It's not super serious. I do actually get people messaging me quite often, being like, do you actually believe the Earth is flat? I just wanted to do something with it. Like we tried a few different things. We did started doing online radio shows, which I think was really cool. Like, yeah, kind of did like a mix series trying to promote them, but also in the same way kind of promoting us as well. Yeah, like a couple of people started doing t-shirts. Like a couple like record labels and stuff like that started doing t-shirts. I was like, oh, just kind of didn't have that many t-shirts. So I was like, yeah, I just really wanted to have something we created. So I don't actually put any branding on any of the t-shirts, to be fair, but yeah, I just wanted something that was like ours. But yeah, we found Everpress. You have the option to kind of just print something and get it sent to your house. But then also I did spend money on the designer and stuff like that, so I was kind of like, it would be cool to get a bit of money back. So yeah, just kind of put them on the platform. Didn't really know what to expect. Like a load of my friends bought them. Like so many of my friends bought them. Like people at work bought them. They just sold way better than I ever thought. In the first round we sold like 180 just straight off the bat. That was a fun day watching the numbers sort of go up, and yeah, posted them on our own social media, tried to get friends to sort of share it as well, especially like people in the industry. Spoke to a couple of people who wrote like quite popular blogs, like music industry blogs. Kind of wrote a couple of like articles for people like that. I mean, they weren't all about ours. I think I did like one of them. I just did like a roundup of good Christmas presents or something. Music industry themed ones. It was like like record coasters, and then yeah, just sort of slipped our t-shirt in there. But yeah, just trying to come at it from like all angles, and just anyone who I could think of was just like, yeah, it'd be cool if you could help me share this. Both my parents mostly have been pretty supportive, especially now that it's kind of like an extra thing. They think it's really cool, they really like it, they really want to kind of see where it goes. But I think initially, especially when I was doing like DJing club work like straight out of uni, I wasn't getting paid that much, and like they knew I wasn't getting paid that much, and it's kind of like, they were definitely, I don't know, probably looking out for me, but kind of like worried about how I'm going to support myself. They're kind of like, you need to find a way to actually support yourself. So I always, yeah, when I was doing that, I always had like a couple of other jobs. I was like working in pubs and stuff like that, which is definitely something that, like, you know, I'm glad that they've instilled in me. I think there's different ways you can approach it, right? Because I think you do need to be cautious still. I think if you're lucky enough to have that financial backing, that definitely helps you out. Yeah, if you're doing something creative, you also need to like plan out, you know, what you're doing, keep track of how much you're spending on it, and like how you're actually planning to get that money back. I think just having like I normally just have it on my phone, like a little spreadsheet or a note or something, be like, you know, I've spent this amount of money, just to keep track of it, because you could end up losing quite a lot, you know, if you keep just buying more things. Say you're doing like video content, you could just buy a new computer, then a new camera, then new lighting, then new sound equipment, and it all racks up, and then, you know, that you might then be like in debt and you're not actually getting money back from it. So if you can afford to do that, then that's fine, but yeah, it's kind of like trying to work out how you can get things back in like micro doses. So I did a lot of, to sort of offset how much I was spending on like music and like DJ equipment, I'd try and get like bar gigs and stuff like that, where, you know, there's some income still coming in. I check all my designs with like all my mates first. I'd be like, you know, what do you think of this? And then they're always like, oh yeah, it looks good. And I was like, well yeah, but would you buy it though? And then they're like, well, I would if you changed this, this, this and this. I guess it's like market research, but on a small scale. Like with sites such as Everpress, there isn't as much risk. You're only paying for the designs. They pay for printing, distribution, like all that stuff. So you don't actually have to pay anything up front. Like I don't have a load of stock. Whereas like, you know, if you're doing it yourself, you have to buy a load of stock, which can cost you quite a lot, and you might not sell it. Whereas this, you just kind of get a little bit of profit from each t-shirt. And then for something like, I mean, that's obviously my experience, I'm sure there's other providers out there, but something where you're just giving yourself the least amount of risk to start with, just to kind of gauge how it's going to go. I'd tell people about it, basically. Like, you know, if you keep doing it on your own, you're never going to know what other people think unless you put it out there, whether that's like DJing in front of your mates or like putting it on social media. I think a lot of it is luck to get, like, if you want to play like the best venues ever, I think a lot of that is luck as well as sort of work. But you're never going to get that luck if you're not in that space. Like if you're always at home, then you're never going to be in, I don't know, Fabric and happen to bump into a promoter in the smoking area who's then going to be able to get you like a random gig or whatever like that. Not that that happened to me, but like, you know, every DJ's got a story like that, I think.